Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am your guide through the all things media, Domiko L. Cunningham. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Domiko L. Cunningham, better known as Dr. Media. And I'm back again with hopefully another great tutorial here on the Phoenix Inception YouTube channel. So this week, what I have for you, besides this shining, smiling young lady on the screen that you see, and this website layout, what I'm going to be talking about this week is going to be a program from Adobe that has gotten a lot of attention here lately for what it does and what it is. If you are a user of Dreamweaver, then you know what it takes to build a website most of the time. And in the past, that has been a very program heavy. I won't say it's much program heavy, but it's been heavier on the side of a technical understanding to build a website. So you had to, understand HTML, and then with HTML came along CSS, and with that there came things like Angular.js, there came things like Bootstrap. So there's all these other technologies on the web that drive the web. Even though now we've gotten to kind of Web 2.0 where everything is more so driven by HTML5. And HTML5 is kind of I would say it's more the foundation for a lot of these other technologies that are kind of floating around out there. Because they're all basically, in a way, some type of scripting language like Python, or a programming language like PHP, mixed with variations of HTML, HTML5, and CSS. So what Adobe has done in that vein of the very developer side in web is they've tried to create a more designer web with the invention and the release of Muse. So Muse was released out into the world, and M-U-S-E, and it's a part of the Creative Cloud suite of programs, so it's Muse CC, and they've updated this program probably about 3 times since its inception into the Creative Cloud. So it's not a very hard to understand program. If you've used Dreamweaver, then this program here is a cakewalk and a half. I promise you. This program is super easy, and we can build a website actually very quickly. So here inside of Muse, we're going to recreate some of the elements that we find within this web page that we're looking at this template that we're looking at, and we can realistically institute a lot of these things very quickly into our Muse site. So let's get started. So here we are back in streaming, and we will start up Muse. And I'm going to take this because I don't capture the very top part of my screen, so I'm just going to scale this to size. So inside of Muse, when you want to define your, and sometimes I hate the snapping stuff inside of Windows because it does what I don't want it to do. I really don't want it to snap up there. Gosh. So here inside of Muse, to actually make our site, we're going to come in here and we're going to say new site. So with this new site, I can look at the advanced settings in here, and so let's look at this and understand what's going on. You can now either create a fluid width website or a fixed width website. If you're going to do a fluid width, this is more in the vein of a responsive website experience. So you can make it responsive so that when you're moving stuff and you're doing stuff inside of your within the website itself, or when you're showing it on different platforms, it will scale to the width of that particular platform. So I can make this width or fixed. I'm going to say I'll make it fluid. Let's keep it fluid. I can also choose how many columns this page is broken up into. So I could say 2 columns or 3 columns or whatever. When I turn on the columns, if I have more than one column, you'll see the gutter option actually activates. So I can actually set my gutter from the very beginning. The other thing is I can set the maximum page width. So this is as wide as the page will ever be when I'm designing this. And I have a minimum width, so I can say 320. Most cell phones, at least most standard phones, about 320 is about the width of those phones. And then I can have a minimum height, so it can't be any smaller than 500. And all these numbers right here, at least the width and the height, are in pixel counts. And then my margins also in pixel counts. I have margins and I have padding. And then I can choose what type of resolution this is going to be. Is it going to be a standard resolution, or is it going to be a high DPI display like a Retina display for an iPhone or whatever you're using? And then I can also tell whether this is going to have a sticky footer. And the sticky footer is, will be positioned at the bottom of the page, and we can actually read through that. But the sticky footer, you can have that turned on or turned off. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And we just defined a website. And I promise you that we did. So up here in the top pane in my actual, this is more so like my flow chart up here in this part. So this is my website definition. And then down here I have my master pages. So if you've ever used InDesign from Adobe InDesign, then you know what a master page is. A master page is an awesome concept because it lets you kind of build your overall template here and then apply that to individual pages as you go along. So first thing let's actually save our website. So let's save our site. And I'm going to save my site in here, and let's make a brand new folder, and let's just call this my Muse _site, and let's put everything in this folder. So this is going to be, let's say, entropy. I don't know, I'm just naming it whatever. So I can save this. So now my website has been saved. So I really have saved my website, my master pages, and all the pages that are part of my website. So right now I have a home page and I have a master page. So how this works is that I first want to design my master page. So I'm going to come in here and double click on my master page, and it opens up my master page. And you can see some things carried through my design, because in the beginning I told this design that it would have 2 columns and a gutter. My page is already set up that way. So it has 2 pages, or actually 2 columns rather, and a 20 pixel gutter already set. Now the thing to remember is that this is not actually real. These are just guides. So these guides are just there, and they're just kind of guiding my design as I go through and lay things out. So let's talk about some things with these actual little carrots on the side of my design. So this carrot right here defines the top of the page. So this is the actual top of the page. So if I wanted to have, this come down from the top of the page, I could set this to like 30 pixels, and my website would start here, and it would have a little gap at the very top. It would have a margin of 30 at the top. And then right here, this defines my header section. So this is the header of this. So I've got top of the page and then bottom of the header. So this is my header section. And then down here, I actually have my footer. So this is the footer of my page down here. And then I also have the bottom of the browser, and I have the bottom of the page. Now, yes, those things do not have to be the same. So right now I can see that this defines the bottom of my page, and then this is the bottom of the browser. So this would basically give me, if I put 30 here as well, this would give me 30 pixels at the very bottom. So my website would stay contained in the middle of my browser, and my page would start 30 pixels down, and it would end 30 pixels at the end of the page, and it would give me a 30 pixel buffer between the actual website and the bottom of the browser itself. And then my footer starts here. So like I said, we're looking at our master page right now. So one thing that I want to do, and if I look back at my design, for what I had for this, I can see that I've got a header section up here. This looks to be probably about 300 pixels. So I'm going to make sure my header is somewhere in that same neighborhood. And I'm just going to, actually I'm going to take this and kind of bring this in just so we can have enough space to be able to see our, at least part of our design. We don't need to see the whole thing because I'm just kind of now just setting up my master page to look correct. So we can minimize this panel over here for at least for a while. So let's get our kind of top part of this set up. So I'm going to want this to go all the way to the top of the page, just like this is. So this is at the top of the browser page. And I'm going to give it probably about, let's say, looks like we might be more in the range of about 120 pixels. So let's do that. So let's do 120. And then if I scroll down over here, I can see my footer is really, really large. So I'm going to make sure the bottom of the page and this kind of match up together. Bring the bottom of my page down. And my footer in here, let's make my footer probably, oh, I don't know. Let's say yay thick. And I'm going to make my page, let's get the one for the whole page. So let's say my whole page is going to be 780 pixels tall. Let's bring this up here. So now I can say my footer, I'll make my footer like 200. So this would be like 680. Because that's going in like 200. It looks like our footer is a little bit larger than that. So let's maybe say 580. It's maybe a little bit too big, but we can always adjust it and play with it. Let's say 590. So that looks like it's coming along well. I've got a good bit of area here for my main content. I've got a header in here and I got my footer in here. So let's start actually making some elements to put onto my master page. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool. I can hit the M key to get my rectangle tool. And I am going to get a gray that kind of matches this gray. So I can come in here and grab my swatch. I want to turn everything gray. I just want to make a new box. And let's make that box gray. So let's zoom out. So Command plus and minus work just like any other Adobe product. I'm going to drag out this rectangle and then drop it. And then the rectangle for the fill, let's just choose this gray. And I'm probably going to change, if I can, I believe I can, I'm going to change from RGB to SHB. Because SHB is going to be my hue, saturation, and brightness. So this way I can just actually keep my hue the same and just adjust my brightness down a little bit to get it a little bit more in line of what I want. So I'm going to do that. And then up here at the very top I can see that I had, it's like a little black and white area up here. So I'm going to do the same thing at the top of my page. So let's make two more rectangles. This is going to be my black bar, or I think it's the same gray that we have down there. And let's actually just go back and, there we go, and get this. I'm going to just take this gray and just keep this gray. So I made that gray a swatch. So now it makes it easier for me to be able to go up here and make this the same gray, because now I have a swatch for it. And then as well, let's come in here and I can do one of two things. Looks like my background for my whole entire website is not completely white. It's a little bit off gray. So I could just come in here and change this, and we'll do the same thing that we were doing before. So let's just change the brightness of this. So it looks like it's a little bit off white just for readability purposes. And let's come in here and make one more rectangle right below my other rectangle. So my other rectangle is going to be right here, and this one I'm going to fill with complete white, so it does follow the design that we have. So this looks very similar, at least for the starting part of this, kind of how our menu or our website's already set up. So this defines our page, and this is pretty decent. It's pretty nice. I probably would want to make my page a little bit longer, because looking at this, I can see there's a lot of content in there. So I could come down here and actually drag my page down some more, and we can bring this footer even down even farther. And I can go back and grab this element and always readjust. That's the really cool thing about this, is I can go back and readjust this at any given time, and it's not going to affect anything. So I've given myself a little bit more space in here for that to be in there. So what I want, one of the things that brings the real power into Muse is the fact that I have these widgets. Now these widgets are kind of pre-built little modules that I can use inside of Muse. So this is actually pretty useful. And let me grab my layers and drag my layers up here as well, because I want to be able to see my layers as I'm looking at this. So I've got these little pre-made widgets. Just going to give myself a little bit more space. So I've got these pre-made widgets, and I've got things like buttons, I've got things like compositions, which I can use like Lightbox and tooltips. I've got forms, I've got menus, I've got panels, slideshows, social buttons, all these different things. So I'm going to go in here and actually activate my menu. I want to get a horizontal menu. So I'm going to drag that menu and drop that menu right there. Now when I drop that menu, you can see that right now my menu is not very impressive, because it's just that big, huge, gigantic menu. It's just the one button that says home. And I'm actually going to scale this to fit just like this is supposed to fit right here. So I'm going to bring this right about here. So this sits there now. Now, one thing you'll notice, I dragged in my menu, and to the right of that, there's a little rectangle right here. If I click on that, you can see that this says menu type, top level pages, direction is going to be horizontal, and then item size is going to be uniform. I can edit them all together, and then show the left icon, show the label, show submenus, and then parts of it. Do I want it to be horizontally top aligned, center aligned, left aligned? So I've got all these different things that I can do with this. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to come in here for this name, and actually let's just take this. Okay, I'm gonna make this a uniform size, like 100 pixels. Let's say 100 pixels. It's gonna be where this comes from. So we need to understand where this name actually comes from. This name comes from the fact that I have a home page already here. That's where the name comes from. So if I go back here and look at my master, I want to save everything. So I'm just going to hit Control S and save everything. And I can close my master page whenever I'm ready to close it. So I can close that master page. I can also come back to that master. So on the master page as well, let's do some other things. So on your master page, you want to think about elements that are going to be on every page of your website. So let's say like my logo is going to be on every page of my website. So maybe that's going to be everywhere. My social icons are going to be everywhere. So let's get those social icons next. Let's go in here, and they're not going to work, at least not right now, but we can at least bring them in there. So I'm going to say that we get the Twitter icon, and it's looking for a connection to the internet, which is fine. I have one. So I'm going to get like follow me. I'm going to get this follow me right here. What's really cool is with these widgets is that I could just change this to my actual Twitter name, and it would actually be a button that would let you follow me on Twitter. And I'm going to also come in here and get a LinkedIn button. And the same thing, I have the widget, and it looks for my LinkedIn information. So I'm going to use that right there. So you can in-share me. And then I'm going to get some text, and I am going to just put in here, let's see, Dr. Media, all, say this, all rights reserved. 2016. So I'm just going to have this sitting right there. And I can always, just like any other program, I can increase my typeface size and all those things. I'm just going to bring this right here. Bring it right about here. And I'm going to take this part and just make this like 14 point. That way it keeps it nice and tight like that. That's pretty cool. And let's say we do that. And I'll even make this a little bit smaller just so it's not left out, right? So let's get that just like that. And actually, let's bring this up a little bit. I don't want to push this stuff down too far. There we go. I'm just anal retentive about this. So I've got that kind of set up, and let's change the color of this. Let's double click it and change the color. So the color right now, let's just do white. That'll look good on that gray background, right? So we've got the white, and we can even probably find a better typeface than that. Let's do something a little bit heavier. And one thing I really like about this is that you get to use some system fonts, but you also can use a lot of the fonts that are web-based fonts. So that's actually very useful to be able to get to those web-based fonts inside of this. I'm going to do not Bajas. I think the Bajas is a little too heavy. And I don't really know what I want to use for this. And let's do something. Let's do something like this. No, that's too much. Impact maybe, because that's my font. That's the typeface that I use. So yeah, there we do impact. So there we go. So I've got my typeface set up, and I've got that set up for my footer, and I'm going to add some other stuff to my footer, and we'll be able to have some more menus and stuff down there. And I'm gonna add that stuff in here the same way that I added everything else. So I'm going to go in here and get some more of my you know what, I think for us, for a professional website, that's kind of all we need right there. And what I am going to do though, I'm going to go in here and get a vertical menu and drop my vertical menu right here. And let's just make this item a lot smaller. So this will be like a mimic of our top menu up there, if we want it to be. So we'll make this a little bit thinner though, and keep it like this. So on this menu item here, we've got that, and let's say that these are going to not be centered, but they're going to be left aligned. And do that more left aligned like that. And there we go. So I've got that sitting right there. And I think that's all that we're going to put in here for right now. So I think that our master page is actually done. So we've set up our master page. We could also get a logo. So I'm just going to go look for a logo real quick. So let's go do that. So logo. So let's just do a Google image search and just go get a logo. I don't want to use anything too prominent so that we end up, violating copyright. So I'm just going to use something that's very generic if I can. Let's actually do a search for this to be a PNG. So logo PNG. And like I said, I'm not going to use anything that's too recognizable. Could use Arch Linux. Haha, that'd be really cool. Airbus, no. Let's just use something that they're not going to try to kill me on for using it. Right? So, I don't know, all these are really pretty recognizable when I look at this. At least for me. I know what most of these are. Let's just use this one. Could be very simple, right? Because it's just compass, and compass could be anything. So save image, and we're gonna save this to the desktop. Actually, let's save it to the same folder as our Muse website. So it's in there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and say File and say Place, and let's go into my Muse site, and there that is, and we'll place a logo up here. So we'll drop that in right there. And there we go. So we have our logo and everything already set up, and all that stuff's good. So I'm going to close this master page. So my master page is defined. If I look at my home page right now, my home page has everything the master page had on it. And it even has the button there for the menus are actually even on here. So everything's already been defined for this page's kind of templated look by the master page, which is really cool. So you can see that I can make that master page, and the master page will have all of the elements that I need on it. So in the next video, we're going to make our additional pages, and I'm going to show you how those pages link together and how we can actually add different content to all of our pages and get our page ready to actually go. And we'll do that in the next video.